I am Councilmember Nora Ellen, and today our guest is Jim Goulka. Our topic today is angel investing and the opportunities we have here in Chandler for investors and entrepreneurs and people like you. Welcome, Jim.
I'm glad to be here.
All right, so you are the Managing Director of Arizona Tech Investors. So we would like you to introduce yourself and share some of your background with our viewers.
Okay, well, I have a long winding road for my background. I started in corporate finance at JP Morgan Chase, one of the entities of that, and did private equity funding for a number of years until I was recruited to solve some financial problems of a mid-sized $650 million company that a lot of people know called Encyclopedia Britannica. This is the mid-90s, and Britannica was selling books and competing with PCs, with free encyclopedias. And so the task was to deal with a lot of very unhappy creditors and then figure out what to do with it. And so I ended up doing that, selling the company to a new owner, and he then asked me to take on the responsibility to digitize it. So from one day to the next, I became a software person. And we spent the next 6 months creating the first very large scale, very successful digital reference work in the mid-1990s. And that got me into software. So I did that for a while, then left to become the CEO of a series of software companies, some very successful, some not so successful, which is the usual life of a software entrepreneur. Went east to do some technology transfer for NASA, spent a little time in Scottsdale at the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and after my tenure in tech transfer, a partner and I acquired some technology from NASA. I moved back here to the Valley because I fell in love with it when I was at the Frank Lloyd Wright Foundation, and started a virtual company, which led me into thinking about funding, which led me into thinking about VCs, which led me into joining this angel group called Arizona Tech Investors. And in about 9 months after I joined it, in 2010, there was a leadership change, and I was asked to lead it. So I've done so for almost 6 years now. And we are a group of just under 100 men and women, mostly in the Valley, and we invest in early stage IT and life science companies.
Wow, that is a wonderful background. And VC stands for venture capitalists,
Yes.
right? Just in case there's people like me that kind of recently learned what VCs means, which is very important. It's similar to angel investing, but different,
Yes.
as we talked about earlier. So tell us what angel investing is and why it's so important to our city and this region.
Okay, well, that's easy. So you think about any business started with 1 or 2 or 3 people figuring out they were going to do something. The biggest businesses we have are like that, and certainly our startups are like that. So businesses get funded initially by the people who start them up, and then their friends and family, and at some point they need more money than friends and family can provide. These are not companies that have a prayer of being bankable because they have no history. The people who are starting them may have never been independent before. They may have worked for big companies, and they have no idea what their markets are. So they seek out people who are interested in investing in these brand new companies. That's angels. It's individuals writing their checks of their own, willing to take those kinds of risks. Once the businesses become larger, they become, and with angel money, they become attractive to venture capitalists, which are institutional investors. And they typically write checks of $5 million, $10 million, sometimes $100 million as companies grow to be much, much larger and become readily bankable, or some become public, others become acquired by much bigger companies. So that's what it is. We are investors in early stage companies, not at the very beginning, but as they're ready to start to take off.
Right, wonderful. And I remember in our conversation we had on the phone, which was a wonderful conversation. I learned so much and appreciated that. One thing I've noticed about entrepreneurs, you might be able to invent something, but you don't realize you also kind of have to be maybe an office manager, and you have to hire people and worry about accounts. So you have to wear a lot of hats and raise money. So it's great to have angel investors partner with these entrepreneurs. Okay, so tell us a little bit more about Arizona Tech Investors and how the organization operates.
Okay, so we take investing seriously, and that's key to how we define ourselves. Because there are people out there that want to give money away almost because they think it's exciting to be part of a startup. We look at it as success is a result of people making very good business decisions, working hard, using some other people's money like ours, and having a little luck. But it means building a business. So we're looking for businesses. That means that we're serious about our investing. So we have a formal process to evaluate people who ask for funding. And we let anybody that meets generally our criteria ask for funding. This is Arizona. We're not Silicon Valley. So we want to make sure that we don't miss anybody. So we get a lot of applications, and then we screen them. We select in a process of several steps to choose those from the 30 or 35 candidates that we get each cycle to the 3 that our screening committee thinks are most likely to get investment, because you can't overdo these things. And so we have meetings where these companies will present to our membership making a pitch. I want your money because this is what I've got that's really great. And then we have a formal process after that called due diligence to make sure that what we see is what we get, because there are lots of questions to be asked, and these are very high risk. So we're formal in what we do.
All right. What is the application and screening process for entrepreneurs, and how do you work with investors?
So the whole idea of ATI is to bring together many people who are interested in investing in this way, who come from a variety of backgrounds. In fact, we treasure diversity because what we offer is collaboration on analysis. That means the more varied our members are looking at a company, the different viewpoints will be brought to bear, and we'll know more about the company. We'll be better investors for it. So we love diversity. And so the idea is an entrepreneur gets to come in front of this diverse group. It's a large group, makes one pitch, and then gets potentially a lot of people interested. So the process is actually for an entrepreneur very simple. If you and I have a great idea, and it's more than an idea, we fill out an application form, we send our financial projections and a PowerPoint presentation, and we start evaluating that way. And then we iterate through that, digging deeper and deeper as if it were an onion.
Okay. So why would someone choose to be an angel investor?
There are a variety of reasons. The principal reason is people want to help entrepreneurs in our community build really successful businesses. The real heart of it, it's making our own communities better. But you do that by saying, I'm going to apply my brain power, my money, my experience in a situation, a company that I think is going to succeed. Success is measured by having customers and making a profit. And as a result, I'll make some money. So it's a combination of several reasons. It does start from that fundamental impulse, though, of I want where I live to be better.
I like that motivation. And you had mentioned, too, that sometimes with angel investors, they might only invest their money, but there's opportunity also to mentor an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. Which I think is fabulous, is to go a step beyond because they need mentoring. And to clarify, so you work strictly with technology companies. So if somebody comes along to improve a mop, that's not the angel investing you do,
No,
right?
no, that's a consumer product, and there are other people that invest in those.
Right.
But as in most investing, you need to be clear about what it is that you do. So we do certain things. We do IT, software to devices, to anything that's a combination, and we do life sciences. So we do medical devices, we do healthcare IT, we do diagnostics, and we'll do even some gene therapies. Those are harder, but we do some of those. So that's a pretty broad array. We leave other things to other people who really want to do them.
Right, and there are those angel investors.
There are.
What are the impacts on startup growth?
Well, the most important thing, what we look for, let's start with what we look for, because those are really the key components. The first is and you hear it all the time, it's the management team. But it really is. And it's not simply a good idea or not simply somebody who can do it all, because they can't. Right. We're looking for individuals who can take an idea and execute on it. Execution's a lot more difficult than coming up with a brainstorm.
Right.
So we're looking for people that can execute, and we're looking for people who know how to play on a team, because business is a team sport. And you get the person that thinks he or she can do it all. It's like a quarterback throwing the football and running down the field and trying to catch it. It doesn't work. Yeah. You need people playing those roles. So we look for entrepreneurs who understand that and know what they're good at. If you're the great software coder and I'm a marketer, and we know that we complement each other, now we've got the basis of it. And the second thing we look for is customers or potential customers. You don't have a business if you don't have people willing to buy whatever it is you're offering at a price higher than it costs you to make it. And all businesses are like that. I mean, charities are even like that. The successful charities are able to raise money greater than it does cost them to deliver it, so they can always offer more services. Well, that's what business is all about. So we're looking for entrepreneurs who know who their customers are and know how to get to them.
Okay, so would you say you want them to already have customers or maybe potential customers lined up?
Yeah, we don't require companies to have revenue when we invest in them. It's nice, and we like it when they do, but we expect that a lot of these companies will not yet have revenue, but they will know who their customers are, and they may have prototypes in the hands of their customers. Potential customers are kicking it around, seeing if it works, and they're enthusiastic enough to talk to us, to tell us that they actually like it, especially if they say, well, if they do this, this, and this, then we'll buy the product.
Okay. Let's talk about some success stories. I love those.
Oh, I do too.
Hear that.
That's what we look for.
Right.
This works intensely well when you have success, because success truly does breed success. So homegrown, the big one in Chandler, of course, is Infusionsoft. And Clayton Mask is very happy to tell anybody who will listen that without angel investors early on, Infusionsoft may have been a pipsqueak company instead of the success that it is. Right. So it's grown dramatically. I mentioned two others. That one was here and moved to Gilbert, and that is Sirius Integrated, which is a combination of a touch pad like on a cell phone with a controller device and software behind it, so you can actually run machinery of all kinds. It's a pretty interesting kind of thing, and they're now selling all over the world, and we're very happy about it.
That's great.
And I'll mention another one that's in Gilbert that we like a great deal, called Campus Logic, which is providing software to the financial aid departments of colleges to help them streamline what they do, so that the people can actually be redeployed elsewhere in the universities, which is what they want, because there's historically a lot of a person fills out forms, those forms get brought to the financial aid department. The financial aid department has to manipulate them by hand. It's very labor intensive, and it's not very smart work for all the people that are working there. And a lot of colleges find that when people start to fill out those forms, the students, prospective students, they drop. So this is a self-service thing for potential students that streamlines the whole process. And it's increasing the yields for colleges among the applicants, what a good thing, makes it easier for students. And then they've got a gloss on it, which is really powerful, to help students figure out how much they need to borrow. Not, if you're borrowing money to finance your college education, not just pay for room, board, tuition, books, but buy a car, buy furniture in a glossy apartment, which sometimes happens and gets people into trouble. They've got tools to help students borrow the right amount. These are all local East Valley companies. Our members are investors in all of them.
Okay, that's great. Great stories, because you shared local stories, which is absolutely wonderful. Very, very realistic what we're talking about here. Who can qualify to become an angel investor?
The rules for that were defined by the Securities and Exchange Commission of the federal government back in the 1930s after the stock market crash. And essentially it says that in these kinds of companies, where there is no history, where management is often brand new and who knows what's going to happen, that to protect the general public, they said people have to really kind of know something about investing and, most importantly, be willing to take the risk of a complete loss on the investment. So they decided, after a lot of trying to figure it out, you had to be sophisticated. Well, their definition of sophisticated is what's now called an accredited investor. An accredited investor is somebody simply who has enough money. And the definition is a minimum net worth of $1 million, or an income, gross income, if you're single, of $200,000 for each of the last 2 years. Or if you're married, $300,000 for each of the last 2 years. It's a stupid definition because you know plenty of people around who have money, no judgment, no insight, no taste, no nothing. But that's what the rules are. So we deal with that. To be a member of what we do, you have to sign a certificate that you are in that condition. And the most important part operationally is that your willingness to accept if something goes wrong, that you could lose all your money in any given investment. Now, the crowdfunding rules that are out there are trying to change that, and eventually they'll change them sensibly, but it's still fairly murky on that. So we work with the standard traditional definition.
Okay. And by 1 million in net worth, so that can be assets, cash?
Everything that you have, because of the real estate crash, everything other than your house.
Okay. Your personal residence.
Your personal residence.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Let's talk about the Phoenix East Valley Angel Investor Initiative and how it came about.
Well, it actually, one person is behind this, and that's Micah Miranda. At the City of Chandler, he and I have been talking for years about this, and he understands that the data are overwhelming, that job creation happens in startups, in new businesses, whether it's a startup in technology or a new coffee shop or dry cleaners. This is the engine of employment. It's the engine of occupancy of buildings. Startups, you're going to have the big operations. Intel will build a new fab and spend $1 billion in town. I mean, it's really great. But if you're a real estate investor and you're putting up various kinds of small commercial buildings, you've got to find small commercial tenants. Startup businesses are naturals for that. So he understood that there is a great deal of benefit to focus on these kinds of things. And in the City of Chandler in particular, with the enormous technology businesses that are here and a commitment to the schools, there are a lot of people who have the capacity, the intellectual capacity, the interest capacity, and the financial capacity to do these kinds of things. So we started to talk about how do we simply encourage more people to consider being an angel investor. We're 97 people today. We're not the biggest organization in the world. So the PR that we have as an entity is relatively limited. So we figured that we should find ways to cause more people to be aware of this. And from awareness, some will say, gee, I do want to do this. And the second part of this is creating mechanisms for them actually to do it. So we're focusing on East Valley because we've got this capability to do it. So it's the cities here. And there are two parts of it. The first is an introduction to angel investing. So we're doing the 6 series workshop, an hour a month, right around the corner. ASU's been great to provide the space. And I'm going to talk about what it means to be an angel investor. From here are some examples of success. It isn't just a wild, crazy thing, to how you pick them, how you value them, how you structure your deals, and how you actually end up doing these things. And then the second is we're forming if there's interest from the membership, from people who attend, to do what we call a sidecar fund. It's associated with what we do, focused on startups of our kind. Companies are in the East Valley.
Right, and that is absolutely wonderful. And yes, Micah Miranda, he is our hero economic development director. And so you just talked about how closely you work with our economic development team and other partners. And I just really think what we're doing is wonderful because there are people that haven't even thought about it, thought about angel investing, and may be passionate about technology and are an accredited investor. So we're doing this to get the word out and partner together. Okay, so let's talk about this series of workshops offered in the fall. So there's 6. starting October 4th
Yes.
and going on from there.
And each one is intended to be straightforward. It's 1 hour, so it's not a big commitment of time. It's from 5 to 6, so it's after the regular work hours, but not at 8 o'clock at night, because you're not going to get people to leave their families to go to this sort of thing. So we do it right after work. It's 1 hour, and each has a very clear message. The first is we're going to talk about successes. We're going to talk about Infusionsoft and Sirius and Campus Logic and others. And then we'll make some references to other angel-funded businesses like Amazon and Apple and Google and Uber and Facebook, because these things can't start from a very small little acorn here. So we're going to talk about that in the first one. Then we're going to talk in the second one about how in the world do you even think about one of these kinds of deals. And so my tagline for that is, what do I need an automobile for, Mr. Ford? I've got a very good horse. It's that.
Right.
How do you think about those in the beginning? Then we're going to talk about how you think about what it's worth, because this is a competitive world, and that's the third one, is on what we call valuation. So you can make a judgment. Is this one worth it, or is that one worth it? And how do you think about those things? Then we're going to talk about what we call terms, because these are, we have specific roles in a company, and so we want to align ourselves with the company to make sure that a deal is structured properly. And then we're going to talk about how you manage it, and eventually we're going to talk about the fund and how you can be an angel. You don't have to be in the fund. There are other ways to do that as well. So it's an introduction across the board that will give a person enough information to take a step. Do I want to do this, and who should I call, which would be somebody like Micah or me or somebody else, and start to do it.
That's sometimes you just do it. Okay, and I believe these workshops are free.
They're all free.
Right.
The one special characteristic is a little specific, and that is it's for investors.
Right.
So we want to be very clear about that. So it's not really for people looking for money. The company that's saying, oh,
yeah,
this is not the forum for that. And it's not a forum for people who really want to sell services either to potential investors or to startups. This is for people who are serious, or at least starting to think seriously about being investors.
Right, and we wanted to pretty much already be accredited investors.
Yes.
Are really close. If someone is interested in learning more, who can they contact?
Well, they can contact me. They can contact Micah. I think the city has some a site now that they can follow up on. And if somebody is living in the next town and wants to, like in Gilbert, wants to do it, Gilbert's doing parallel information flow to bring people over here for the series.
Mm-hmm. All right. And something that I wanted to cover real quick too. So that we talked about as far as on the entrepreneur side, what they can expect, like the pitch. Do you want to just talk about real quick about the pitch?
Sure. So we start with, as I mentioned, in coming to us, and the application has 3 requirements. It's on our website. It's very simple. The form is on our website. Mm-hmm. Now, at around the corner at the incubator, they have programs on how to do pitches. So if anybody's interested in learning how to pitch, they should go over there and get into that program. I'm a judge for the end at the pitches, mm-hmm. to help them sort of make sure that what they're getting to covers the topics that are really interesting to us, because there is an art to it. And if there are entrepreneurs watching the show, do it all the time. Pitch to everybody that you can, because get better at it by doing it a lot of times. But for real help, around the corner is the place to go.
Right, and that's why I wanted to cover this, because I'm sure there's entrepreneurs watching about angel investing, because they would like to have it. Is there anything else you wish to add? I
would just say our front door is wide open. If there is an entrepreneur that wants to seek capital that is in IT or life sciences, go to our website, which is www.arizonatechinvestors, all one word.com, but you can Google it to get to us, and go to our application page. It's very simple, and I think it's pretty clear, though we are redoing our website to make it even clearer. That's for entrepreneurs, for investors. I'm happy to talk to any potential investors. I think this program will be a great way for people not only to have their own thoughts, but see some of their friends and neighbors who are thinking about the same things. And then you start talking and you get that network effect of people who actually then collaborate on deals.
Exactly. And then they'll be able to be with other angel investors more seasoned.
Yes.
And so there's a lot of help.
Yes.
A lot of help and mentorship.
I'm sorry to step on your words. We do education programs in our group. We do. We have seasoned investors absolutely willing to help brand new ones figure out what's going on. And I tell all the new ones, there is no such thing with us as a bad question or too much ignorance. The whole point is ask questions so we can all learn. Everyone learns from each other. So it works out fine.
Right. It's very exciting and very important to our culture and our country. Thank you for sharing this valuable information, and it's been a pleasure having you on the program. And thank you for watching. I am Chandler Councilwoman Nora Ellen, and we'll see you next time on Chandler in Focus.